everyone, I am super here again with you, my lovely people watching me at home. I love you so much. Thank you for always watching me. Thank you for always subscribing, and thank you for always following my YouTube video. I love you. Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. You'll be wondering why did I dress like this? Why not my shirt and my skirt or my gown? I told you guys at the beginning of the class, I said chemistry is in three aspects. We have the objective aspect, the theoretical aspect, and now we also have the practical aspect. If, peradventure, you are doing well in the objective aspect, doing well in the theoretical aspect, without the practical aspect, there's no how you can have your excellent grade in chemistry. We need to balance everything, and mind you, everything is very simple. Yes, very simple. Now here with me we have our practical aspect. That's like target practical class. And in practical aspect we have something we call the qualitative analysis, we have quantitative analysis, we have the qualitative analysis. That one has to do with the source. But the one with me here today is the volumetric analysis. I also call it titration. Titration is the method that we employ, that we involve in what in volumetric analysis, whereby we're going to be using some laboratory apparatus. Yes, very simple. I'm going to take us to a normal lab whereby we are going to do the titration ourselves. But before going to the lab, there are some things we have to know. Yes, so that you don't use most of your time in the lab, because when you're given what's called a practical question, you have some certain time to complete your task. You don't use all the time. So that's why you need to know some tasks before the practical class, before going to the laboratory. What am I going to do in the lab? Why am I going to the lab? What do I need to do when I get to the lab? That is what I want to teach us today. Please just enjoy the class with me. God bless you. Now we have something called titration table. Your table must look like this, titration table. In the first practical, they will give you either your WAEC, the NECO, even the GC we are doing. So you'll be given all this. At times in your GC, you'll just be given the table. But how do you know? How do you work on the table? What are those things you need to do with the table? How we teach you. Now here with me, you can see you have the table. I call it titration table. Now on the table we have, the first one is the breath reading. I remember there's a practical class. I don't know if you can still go back to a practical section whereby I put on a lab coat. You are going to see a breath. I think I analyzed a breath, a pipette. I think I show you that indicator, and also the conical flask, the beaker. I show you. I remember I showed you. Just go back to that practical and see. So you call it a breath reading. And you can notice I put my unit. The unit is very, very important. And I happen to be one of the West Africa Examination Council of Nigeria examiner, as well as the National Examination Council of Nigeria examiner. And all these points, they are very, very important. You need to apply your unit. If you put your breath reading without putting your unit, that is -1 mark. And what is the unit? It's volume. You're looking for the volume. The unit for our volume can be in centimeter cube or decimeter cube. But on this note is what? Centimeter cube. That's why I put the unit centimeter cube. Also, I have here with me, after breath reading, please observe this table very well. Don't miss it all. Don't put your initial before final. We have breath reading, final breath reading in centimeter. I see the unit, initial breath reading centimeter cube. The volume of acid used also in centimeter cube. You can even tag it. I can give an acronym. You can call it BFIV. You can call it BFIV in order for you not to forget the placement in case you are, because you must draw your table. They will not draw the table for you. You are going to draw the table in white. You draw it out with your pen. You don't use pencil in practical chemistry class. Do not use pencil. There's penalty for doing so. So please, you go with your pen, your ruler, everything very neat. Remember, breath reading, final breath reading, initial breath reading, and volume of acid used. Good. So now we have another, we call it ROV. Then we have the first titration, the second titration, and the third titration. Now let's go, let's assume we're in the practical class. You can see the way I dress. You need to go to the practical class with your laboratory coat so that you to prevent yourself from what? From dangerous chemical that can affect your skin, that can burn your skin. You have to put on your laboratory clothes. Yes, laboratory coat. Yes, yeah, put it on. So now you have your raw. Good. Another question is, how do I get my final breath reading? Let's just assume when I carry out my titration experiment practical class, which we are going to do together, so I was able to get, let's assume that I was able to get 20.1. Let's parameter, I get 20.1. But there is a rule on this table. The rule says it must be to 2 decimal places, 2 dp. So when you look at your breath reading, you look at it's calibrated, your breath is calibrated after your titration. When the color changes, you see that you look at it through, you observe 20.1. You are going to put 0 to observe the rule. 20.10. If you not put the 0, that's another -1 mark. Practical chemistry is easy to pass and it's also easy to fail. When I know my students with me, we are passing together. Yes, that is why I'm taking all my time to teach you all the rules, the rudiments you have to follow before what? Before writing practical chemistry examination. Very simple. Now, how do I get, this one is where you've already titrated, you get this one. How do I get my initial breath reading? Thank you. The initial breath reading is in the placement of your acid. We have something we call breath and pipette. Inside our breath, we have acid in the breath. Pipette, use your mouth to pipette the base. You can see you are doing it, and we get there, we're going to do it together. So you pipette your base. So now, initial breath, how do we get the value? That is the level your acid, the level you place your acid, and which is what? 0.00. So that is it, 0.00. You can see, very simple. So now, how do we now get volume of acid used? How? You are going to subtract your what? Your initial from your final. Remember, after your titration, after you get your color change, is when you have this 20.10. So you subtract this from this, what do we get? Good. So we get what? 20.10. Yes, good. Now we are through with our rough. We move to the first titration. Rough is just to guide us where color will be changing. Just to know that, wow, we are set for practical. So let's go to first titration. Now, our first titration, we need to fill initial first. Now, you know, our initial is, let's say, we do not add another acid. We make it 20.10, meaning the level of what over acid, level of the placement of acid. That's the reason why I put 20.10. I did not put 0.2 because I did not fill back the acid to the brim, to the calibrated number, to the calibrated figure. The shape is calibrated. So I still maintain my acid that with the rough one. So we have 20.10. So how do I get my first titration? Now, I was titrating, I was shaking it. So I was able to get what? Let's say, just an assumption, 40.20. Good. So I was able to get 40.20 for my titration. Look at it very well. Remember, how do we get this value? We take away what? We subtract the initial from what? From the final. Now, to get this one again, all our now is the method to do. You subtract your initial from your final. So what do we get? You also get what? Wow, 20.10. How you are with me? Yes, you get the same value. So same procedure. You carry out the same step. You feel back. Now you cannot use this one again. You can't use 40.0. You can't use this one. So let's take back our acid to 0.0. We fill it to the brim again. Initial is 0.00. So we titrate our figure again. We get what? Let's say we get 20.20. Our color changes at this number. 20.20. How do we get this value? We subtract it, that is 20.20. Hence, you are not putting 20.2, don't forget to. The rule says 2 dp. Rule number 1. Rule. That is it must be 2 decimal places. So your volume, when you are recording your volume, it must be 2 decimal places. That is why we are putting 0.0000. Are we together? So that is why. So let's go to the third titration. So now our third table, let's say we make our initial to be 20.20. Are we together? So we are able to get what? To get 40.60. Look at what I have here. How do we get the volume of acid used? We are going to subtract, right? Good. Initial for what? From the final. Good. So what do we have here? That is 20.40. Good. We have our table of value. So you can see the table is very, very neat. You do not cancel when you have your table. Do not cancel at all. Make sure your table is very, very neat. If you have your table correctly, you have 8 marks for your table. If your table is properly recorded, the way it is on the board, you have your 8 marks. And at times, in your, your GCE, that's GCE, the GCE level, if you're not given some of the value, peradventure they're not given this value, you're not given this value, how do we get it? You don't need to be afraid, because that way they will not take you to practical class, but it's only the WAEC and the NECO you are going to be going to a class, maybe you practicalize it yourself. But in this case, they will only give you a table, but they may clean some hand, they may clean it up, they may write X or Y for this. If they put Y here, how do you do it? You just subtract your initial from your final to get your answer. Now, this table is very important. With that table, you cannot do any calculation in chemistry, in practical chemistry. So after having your table, the next thing you have to do, you have to calculate the average volume of acid used. What do I call it? Average volume of acid used. You have to calculate it. But how do we do that? There's a rule to that. Your table must obey concordance rule. The table must obey concordance rule. Yes, the table must obey concordance. What does that mean? The concordance rule says the difference between the first and the second value must not be more than plus or minus is 0.2. Good. So plus or minus what is 0.2. So that means if you want to use any table, let's say you don't use rough to do your calculation. Rough is just the first starter. You don't use rough to do your calculation. So let's go to the first and let's say difference between the first and the second titration. What's the difference between them? I think we have is 0.10, right? We check it, right? Yes, we have it here. So let's say this and this. We also have from the second titration and the third, we have is 0.20. Good. And the rule says the maximum, the least table you can use is 2. If all your table, when you subtract it and the difference between them is not more than plus or minus 0.2, you can use all the 3 tables to calculate your average volume of acid use. But in this case, difference between the second and the first is 0.1. Difference between the third and the second is what? Is 0.2, which will be concordance to find. But let's see the difference between the first and the third. What do we have here? We have 0.30. So that means we cannot use first and third together. Is that how we use first and second, or what? Second and third. To calculate what? Average volume of what? Of acid used. So how do we do that? Let's say, okay, because of the rule, let's say first and second. Remember, we are not using raw. You say, should be rough to obey concordance rule. No, in this case, we are not using what? We are not using raw. Then I will use first, second, or third. If peradventure you are doing your titration and your table doesn't obey concordance rule, when you check the value, the difference between them is more than plus or minus 0.2. That means the table is wrong. And if your table is wrong, all what you are going to do in your practical chemistry will be totally wrong. That is 0. So you need to get your table very, very well. So that is why I'm showing you how to get our table of value. Very simple. That is why I'm showing you this. So let's go. So remember, your table is how many marks? You have, let's say, 8 marks. Good. Now, to calculate average volume of acid used, this one is giving us 2 marks. They want to, maybe you are going to pick the right, you know the right table to pick. Maybe you will know the rules. And the rule says it must, I think, must obey concordance rule, and which our table will obey. So we are going to go. Yes. So that's it. Let's take first and so that will not be what. Let's take this way. Let's have it this way. That is first titration plus what? Second titration divided by what? How many table of value do we use? 2. Divided by what? By 2. Now, what is our first titration? What's the value here? That is what? 20.10 plus what? What is second titration? 20.20. Good. Divided by what? Divided by 2. So when we sum it up together, so what do we have here? We have what? 40.30 divided by 2. So what do we get? Our answer now is what? 20.15. You don't stop there. Because the question is average volume. What's the unit for volume? Centimeter cube. Centimeter cube. If you not put your units, just put 20.15. That is 0. You miss minus 1 mark here. If you are giving 2 marks for this, you only get 1 mark here. Forget it here. But your final answer, you do not get it, you have what? You do not put your unit, you have what? Minus what? Minus 1, which you do not want to do. So it's very, practical chemistry, easy to pass, easy to fail. But I know you are with me today, really enjoy the class, right? I believe you enjoyed the class. So by next class, we are going to go to the lab to do the titration ourselves, and I know you know how to form your table now. I would love to see you next class. Thank you. God bless you. I love you. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Love you. Thank you.